There you go.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our interview with Michael Zalle. Michael is a CEO and founder at YellowBird, which is a platform of two-way marketplace that connects the best experts in environmental health and safety with business and government entities on demand. Michael, thank you for coming to our interview today.
Thank you, Boris. I'm pleasure to be here.
Thank you, absolutely. So with your background, I believe we will have a thoughtful conversation on how artificial intelligence is helping risk management businesses find experienced safety and risk professionals while saving time and money. Michael, could you perhaps tell us a short story about what brought you to your current role and what you have been up to these days?
Sure. Again, thank you for having me. I love telling the story. I'm passionate about what we're doing. So my background has been in the internet business pretty much my entire career. Right after college, I got involved in the earliest stages of the internet purely as a salesperson, trying to figure out a way to get my first job and help in technology and right place at the right time in the world. So I ended up being part of a very fast growing internet company, did well in sales, and was part of the internet infrastructure. So we were selling access to the public internet to all over the world. And so I was traveling around the world and was very, very fortunate to have had success there. And I met my wife there, who I've been married to for 21 years now, and two great kids. And through this process, I ended up getting into satellite communications as a second career. And so we got into satellite initially through doing international communication, and then through serving local in the United States and Canada and South America, servicing high risk environments. And so our solution back in the day, 15, 20 years ago was, and still is, that company still exists and it's doing quite well, but our solution was to supply internet access to remote locations where cell phones weren't covered. And so if somebody got hurt, it's that risk area of continuity planning, or can you call for security if somebody has a threat of some sort, or if somebody is injured, can you get help in 911? So I got to know some of the legal requirements in high risk environments. And so we did that for a long time in the oil and gas, construction, mining, a lot of the, as we call it, the high consequence industries, right? Where, they're dangerous and people do get hurt and things do happen. And so through understanding that, I did that for a long time, successfully, through many cycles of oil and gas, ups and downs. At the end of the day, what I really loved was the people aspect of what we were doing. And so as I was trying to contemplate what I wanted to do next, I was a little bit bored, to be honest. I was 15 years of doing the same thing. I wanted a new challenge. And it was in the back of an Uber, and the gentleman that was driving me was an older gentleman. He had retired from the military. He was driving an Uber at 5:30 in the morning, and he didn't have to work, he tells me, but he was bored. And I thought to myself, I know a lot of subject matter experts who are sitting on a couch with a lot of knowledge. And what would happen if we took the same model as an Uber and made it useful to these folks on their own flexibility? So if Boris is running a risk management consulting practice and he has a vacation going with his wife, he logs himself out and he's not available. But if he's sitting on a couch and Boris thinks that he could add something to a small business or a medium-sized business to come in and serve a need, he logs in and we match him for his skills and capabilities. So that's the story.
Yeah. So you are sort of Upwork for gigs related to safety and security, risk management. So and the professional in this time, they have faced a lot of pressure because they need to comply with new regulation, specifically in the COVID time. So what is the behind of your kind of machine?
Yep.
this technology platform. How are you
Sure.
able to do this matching on a quick base?
So you mentioned Upwork, and there's a lot of groups that do gig platforms. Most of them are focused on, as I call it, a pulse and a driver's license, right? Where you're dealing with delivery of food, delivery of people, you know, kind of, I won't say commodity, but less skilled work. What we do is we take all of these various certifications that people have. If you're an ARM, when you're a risk manager, you've got your certificate of risk management. You have a BCSP certificate for a certified safety professional. And then you have specifics. We have 170 various specific certifications. And so when we get into these nuances and these various things, we understand, and we're using our technology to decode. When somebody says, I am working in metal fabrication and I'm dealing with welding safety. Well, we also know that if you're dealing in welding safety, you probably have chemicals, you probably have gases, you likely are dealing in both vision and auditory risk. And so we don't just match somebody who has a certificate as a risk manager, but we look for somebody in the right area with the right skills and the right background beyond just the certificate. And so for us, we use AI for that. And artificial intelligence is just a fancy way of computers decoding and learning. And so what we're doing is we've built this very large database that is constantly learning and finding synonyms for words. So if you say, I am a teacher of safety skills, it might be, we might decode that into a trainer. We may decode that into an educator. We may decode that. So when people use those words, when they're trying to find a gig, I need somebody to come out and teach my people better safety skills. Well, we know that means they need a safety trainer. We also know what company they came from and what they do. So we need a safety trainer in welding, in this geography, for this, with this experience. So AI from our perspective is just a better way of doing what we've always done in this industry, which is calling a friend. You know, this industry is all about calling a friend to help.
Mhm.
And in our circumstance, we're having the technology help call the friend.
Mm. So what is a typical kind of case study, use case for your clients? For example, I am a construction company or a bank, I need some, do they have a kind of a membership on your site, or they call you, or how it works?
Yep. Yeah, so for YellowBird, there's no fee for the professionals. So the professional can sign up, we give them insurance, we facilitate the transaction, we are involved in the account management, billing and receiving. So there's a lot of, we basically put people who don't run their own businesses in business, and we help people who run their own businesses become more efficient. So if you're already consulting, we can help with all the efficiency stuff that most small consultants don't like to do. Don't like to send out invoices, don't like to call getting paid, don't, you know, all the logistical stuff. So you get registered people on the platform, and then you have a company who comes on and they register for free and they create a job for free. And way we get paid is when we match the job, there's a process, there's a fee associated with that. So let's just say, and you asked what use case. So a very common use case for us is I have a company that has to do a industrial hygiene assessment, like you mentioned, COVID-19. We need to do an industrial hygiene assessment of our 50 sites across North America. Well, there's a few ways of doing it. There's 50 individual consultants, and you just start smiling and dialing and you find those people. You can have your internal staff live on airplanes for the next 90 days. We're going site to site to site, or drive to drive to drive, depending on how you're getting from location to location. Or you go to a big consulting firm that has a lot of people already on staff. And those are W-2 employees. They're very expensive. And the benefit that they offer, the reason they can charge so much is because They can be fast and they can have the right people doing the job, but the cost is very high. And so we kind of take the combination of all of those and we say, okay, you tell us what training you want us to execute on. We will make sure we have the right people to do that execution. And we will send out 50 different invites and you can facilitate the entire process. And so we are a logistical program from that perspective. But it goes everything from insurance reviews to, as an example, loss assessments or a safety plan. Somebody, heaven forbid, has an incident on site and you want to send somebody out to do an incident review. Maybe they've been declined on their insurance and they say, before we go out for insurance again, I need somebody to come in here and tell me how to fix my risk problems. We do all of that kind of stuff. So it's a pretty broad offering, but it really comes down to subject matter experts, which is, environmental health, safety, and risk. Those are our four pillars.
Yeah. So the marketplace, two-side marketplace are always kind of eggs and chicken game, right? So you need to have a first clients, or you need to have first resources. So how does it work? How did it work on your side?
Great question. Yeah, it's really not there is a distinct chicken. We have to have professionals before we can sell to clients. And so for us, we spent our first 90 days in business reaching out to individual professionals and asking them if they'd be willing to sign up on our platform. And so when we went into revenue just here in Phoenix, Arizona, just locally here is a tiny little office with 3 of us and a dream, had 50 people sign up, and it said, okay, it's time for us to give this a try. And so we went out and we found a couple of customers that were willing to try it. We had 50 people that we could match them with. We figured with various different skills and we'd be able to find a match. And that's how we kicked it off. That's how we started. Now we're in every state in the United States. We have over 2,000 professionals on the platform. We have about 600 that we call match ready. And what match ready means is they've gone through the onboarding, the insurance assessment, the background check, the interviews, so that when they're match ready, our customer doesn't have to do any of that. We've already done it. And so, but no, it's a distinct, there is no chicken and egg for us. We have to have the professionals first.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, because I was looking for myself. I run in this community, global risk community, and we have a lot of risk managers. But I was trying a couple of years ago, create kind of a site for job seekers.
Yes.
And a job board, and it was not easy. So of course we have these people, but and the companies can post jobs, but it's kind of, it didn't work for us too much. And maybe we need to we didn't concentrate on gig. We concentrate on kind of
employment.
Employment. Yeah, it's something difficult, but it's a specific task for a recruiter who are kind of skilled in this game.
Well, that's actually one of the things. So we are not a staffing company, and so there are big staffing organizations out there, and they actually have the chicken and egg scenario. A company comes to them and says, will you help me find the right person? And then they go out and they search and search and search, trying to find the right person. And they go through the interview and they make sure they've checked everything. And it can take 60, 90, 120 days for them to get a candidate just to see if it's a match. What we are doing is, while you're trying to find that full-time candidate, use YellowBird to fill the tasks. Now, they may end up making an offer to the YellowBird professional as an employee, and that's okay. And we don't take a fee for that. So we don't charge a percentage to hire off the platform. And there's a lot of organizations that feel that a lot of investors actually that feels that we're missing an opportunity, but it's not our philosophy. Our philosophy is not just to be another staffing company. It is to be a gig platform for skilled labor.
Interesting. So what have you learned this years when you started your business? Is it what trends do you see in this gig market? Because probably if you already started in this safety, you can branch out to others, so you can become Uber for skilled workers. So what are your plans for the next few years?
So, well, it's interesting. So one of the things that we have found is there are a lot of people with knowledge and experience that would like to consult if it was easy for them. And so people always say, well, what are you going to do when you retire? And they're like, oh, I'm going to consult. I mean, that is the professional response, right? That's what professionals do. I've worked my whole career. I have 30 years on the job of all these experiences, and now I'm going to become a consultant. And the challenge is that the insurance is very expensive. The setting up the company, the marketing and sales, the process of developing a relationship with your client that is worth the effort. Meanwhile, most people, when they're at that retirement age, may or may not have to consult, but they want to. But if it gets hard, they don't want to do it. And so that was the original premise of YellowBird, is going after the later stage career people. Now we are doing a lot of individuals coming out of college now who are early stage, who want to learn, and who people in their later stage wouldn't mind mentoring and say, yeah, I could use a risk coordinator, or I could use a safety assistant. So we are finding that to be an opportunity as well. But to answer your question, so that's what we solve for, which is the insurance cost, the logistical cost, and the marketing cost. Now, what professional areas could you go into? Although we are in risk, we're really in a very specific area of risk. We're in environmental risk, we're in human capital risk, and then we deal with the safety, of course, health and safety. We can, and we likely will at some point, get into some other areas of risk, both financial and business operational risk, even quality control and things to that effect. But it has to be a certified place that you're not having to kind of squint to make it fit. It has to be obvious. It's, people always say, hey, could you guys do nurses and doctors? It's like, well, we could, but no, it's not what we do. Like, I mean, sure. When you have this technology, you could do lots of things, but we're very true to our mission of human and business risk.
All right. So I want to hear your personal opinion. What is the commonly held belief or misconception in your field of health and safety professionals that you kind of strongly disagree with?
The concept of I have a safety person already, or I have a safety guy, in quotes, the older people. We're not supposed to use the guy comment anymore, but I have a safety guy. There's no such thing. We all have blind spots. Every single human being on earth have areas that they are not experts in. And it is a misconception for companies to say, well, we have that covered because I have a safety person. And I often think of the medical world, even the legal world, where there is such a thing as a general counsel for lawyers. And that general counsel is exactly that. They are generally knowledgeable about all things. But if you need to get into tax law or malpractice law, or get into quality, tort reform, excuse me, you definitely need to have a specialist brought in. And that's kind of the misconception, is that everybody has stuff covered already. Nobody is 100% covered. It doesn't exist.
Yeah. So, for example, if as a business owner, you are a startup, you're still a startup phase, right?
Yes. We're only 2 years in. We are a startup.
2 years, and you have a funding, outside funding, or you are kind of internal funding?
So I originally funded it ourselves. We then did go through 2 rounds of funding. Small. We've raised a couple of $1 million. which in the business world is small. In the individual world, it would be wonderful.
Yeah, sure.
But we have gone through a friends and family round, as they call it, where you have people that are investing in myself and my co-founder, Michelle. And then you get into a more formalized round where we went to venture capitalists and angel investors. And that was a medium-sized round. Each one of these gets a little bigger. And now we're just opening up another round. And that will be decent size. We should raise between $4 and $6 million for the company to grow.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah.
So how does for example, someone who is a startup entrepreneur like you and me, and they decides to go for a round for investors or concentrate on internal capital, what would your advice be?
So we followed the methodology of what they call lean startup. It's a book by Eric Ries, and it was very good. My recommendation is don't spend too much money without really knowing that there's a demand. And so lean startup is all about creating a minimum viable product, as they call it. And it's basically do as little as you can to go out to sell something to see if somebody's willing to buy it. That's why when you're building a car, that's why so few car manufacturers start, because it's so capital intensive up front before you ever build your first vehicle. But if you're a consultant, or I'll use a different example, if you're making t-shirts, maybe you make 25 t-shirts and go to a concert and sell them and see if it worked. And then it's like, oh, wow, that worked well. Now maybe I'll make 100. And then as that demand works, it's like, okay, now I can raise money because I've shown that it works. Prove that what they call product market fit, prove that the concept is working first. And once the concept is working, it's not as hard to raise money.
Okay, fantastic. So let me have one or two few questions left. I'm running the global risk community. We are community, bless you, for risk managers. So what would you, what is your opinion? How we can contribute better to this process of understanding of this complex world of risk management?
Making yourself available for others, I think, is the best way of doing this in general, whether it be through YellowBird or some other capacity. Like I said, there is no such thing as an expert in all areas of all fields. It does not exist. And so embracing that and leaning on each other. Now that's what we're doing at YellowBird, and we are going to be going international. We're going to be opening up through Europe. We're going to be opening up North and South America, as well as going into Asia. Right now, we're only in domestic United States and looking at Canada very aggressively. That said, as an industry, the ability and willingness to work with other knowledge holders and not hold your customer so tightly that this is my customer, nobody else can communicate with them. Being open to that creates opportunity for everybody.
Okay. All right, interesting. So these were all my questions. So if I missed something, would you like to add something that will benefit our audience?
No, I mean, thank you so much for having me. And, if anybody has suggestions on how we can improve at YellowBird, something that would be, if anybody is a member of YellowBird or has signed up or wishes to sign up, no fee associated, but we want to hear feedback. We're young. And we want to know how we can improve and make the experience better for our community. So that's my first ask. And my second ask is, of course, if there's anything that we can do for anybody out there to help them in their operations, particularly in North America right now, we would be delighted to serve them. And our website is goyellowbird.com. It's just go yellowbird.com, and I'd be very appreciative and thank you if you would give us a try.
Yeah, we will put it in our show notes on this podcast so people can click on when they. All right, Michael, thank you very much for your time, and I wish you successful with growing your company. and seeing you also in other parts of the world, like Europe, you said.
Absolutely. And if there's anybody who's interested in forcing my hand to have us come out, reach out to us. We're happy to talk about an expansion plan.
Absolutely. Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.